So, you didn't get Jing Yuan on his banner. I know. You're in a lot of pain right now, I understand. But it's okay. Because of Honkai Star Rail's pre-registration milestones being met before the game's release, you have access to the perfect genuine substitute ever for absolutely free. Before Genuine's release, Serval was the only lightning AoE damage dealer in the game, and was actually one of the best AoE damage dealers in the game. But how? Well, this simple and clean guide is going to break it down for you. How to build Serval and why you should build Serval. Let's get to it. Serval's game plan revolves around applying the shock damage over time status to enemies by using her skill and breaking the enemy's toughness meter if they're weak to the lightning element. At this point, she can then do two things. One, use her ultimate to deal great amounts of AOE lightning damage while also extending the duration of the shock status on enemies by 2 turns. And two, exploit her unique talent that allows her to deal extra instances of lightning damage to all enemies on the field that are afflicted with the shock status whenever she attacks. Don't let the single target marker on her basic attack fool you. If she uses her basic attack on an enemy and there are other enemies on the field that are afflicted by shock, then all of those enemies will take damage as well. So Serval's AoE damage adds up very quickly over the course of a fight, thanks to the synergy between her ultimate, skill, and her talent that exploits the damage over time from shock, which by the way, scales off of her talent level. To make things even better, once the enemy has shock applied to them, she can trigger her talent using her normal attack, leading to her conserving a ton of skill points for the rest of her team to use once she's fully set up. Something she can very easily do by using her technique to initiate a fight. Serval is a fantastic unit, but not without some quirks. Her single target damage is pretty low, even against lightning weak enemies, so a hunt or destruction unit would be better against single target bosses. Also, her skill hits 1 enemy and 2 adjacent enemies whenever she uses it, meaning 3 targets in total. While this is great when facing against 3 enemies, facing 4 or even 5 enemies at once can be pretty tricky, as it will require her to use her skill twice before her normal attack spamming rotation can begin. Now let's talk about Serval's abilities that she can unlock by leveling up. Serval's first ability, Rock and Roll, raises the base chance of her skill applying shock on the enemies from 80% to 100%, which will be incredibly valuable in later game content as enemies develop a stronger base resistance to certain effects. Serval's second ability gives her a free 15 energy towards her ultimate at the start of a fight, which synergizes very well with her unique light cone, but I'll talk more about that weapon later. And Serval's third ability gives her a 20% attack boost upon defeating an enemy that lasts for 2 turns. Personally, in my opinion, all 3 of her talents are worth unlocking as soon as possible, though if I'd have a choice, I'd recommend unlocking her A2 first. Serval is a pretty complete character right out of the box in my opinion, but if you want more power, her Eidolons do provide a nice boost to her performance. Although, in my personal opinion, they're not really necessary for her to get the job done. Her first Eidolon makes it to where her normal attack deals an extra instance of lightning damage equal to 60% of her attack to a random enemy next to her main target. Hardly anyone is going to complain about more AOE DPS on an Erudition character. Her second Eidolon makes her regenerate 4 energy every time her shock talent is triggered, which is great for charging up her ultimate even faster so she can extend her enemy's shock affliction. Eidolons 3 and 5 are the general level buffs to the whole kit that we should be familiar with from other Hoyoverse games like Genshin Impact. Eidolon 4 makes it to where her ultimate has a 100% base chance to apply shock to any enemies that are not currently shocked, and this shock has these same effects as the one applied by her skill. And her final Eidolon gives Serval a no strings attached 30% damage boost across her entire kit against shocked enemies, which is incredible, seeing as how she can be rewarded for basically doing what she was already planning to do. I should stress, with how Honkai Star Rail is in its current state, I wouldn't say that Eidolons for 4 stars are like 100% necessary at the moment, but if you have the option, Serval's Eidolons, while not, absolutely insane like on Jing Yuan, are pretty good, and I recommend getting them if you have the chance and you plan on using Serval a ton in the future. So what about Serval's Relics? Well, there is one relic set that I recommend for her above all else, and is honestly one that I plan on farming for her once I get to Trailblaze level 50, and it's the Band of Sizzling Thunder, or aka the lightning based relic set. The 2-piece effect increases lightning damage by 10%, and the 4-piece effect provides a attack bonus of 20% to the user whenever they use their skill, which is something that Serval plans on doing at least once every couple turns. What's important to note here is that this relic set is in the same domain as Knight of Purity Palace, which is one of the best relic sets for other defensive characters like March 7th, Japard, and Fire Trailblazer. So if you're planning on raising those characters as well, it would actually be fuel efficient to farm this domain, because you either get relics for Serval or you get relics for the other characters that you're building as well, which is very nice. However, if you would like to farm relics for Serval, but you would also like to get relics for your healer-based characters, aka the Passerby of Wandering Cloud, then I highly recommend farming the Path of Drifting, because it has the Musketeer of Wild Wheat relic set, which is a nice runner-up art relic set for Serval. The 2-piece effect provides a general attack increase by 12%, and the 4-piece effect increases the wearer's speed by 6% and the basic attack damage increase of 10%, which, considering that Serval's basic attack can trigger her unique shock-based talent whenever it hits a shock-inflicted enemy, proper Serval play does require her to use her basic attack a lot. So it's nice that she can at least exploit the 4-piece effect of this relic set at least a little bit. A 2-piece combination of Musketeer and Band of Sizzling Thunder for the attack bonus and lightning damage bonus is also a nice combination to run too, just in case you're not able to get the full 4-piece effect for Serval just yet. Now, as far as the Planar Sphere and Link Rope relic pieces are concerned, the set for those I recommend above all else is Space Sealing Station, because it increases the wearer's attack percent by 12%, and when the wearer's speed reaches 120 or higher, the wearer's attack increases by an extra 12%. Now, as far as main stats are concerned, I highly recommend either crit rate or crit damage for the body set, attack or speed for the feet, lightning damage boost for the sphere, for the planar sphere, and attack percent for the link rope. It's worth mentioning at the moment, the body stat may be crit rate more often than crit damage due to most of the available Erudition light cones in this version providing crit damage. So it'll be easier to balance the crit rate crit damage ratio that you're providing for Serval if you get the crit rate body. Also, if you want more consistency with Serval's ultimate charge, and if you don't have Jing Yuan to help with that, the link rope can be switched out for energy regen, although this may not be an issue due to her ultimate only costing 100 energy anyways. Now, as far as light cones go, these are the 5 Erudition light cones that I recommend the most for Serval. Before Dawn is Jing Yuan's signature light cone, and it's very good on him and Serval for pretty good reason. It increases the wearer's crit damage by a sizable amount, as well as increasing the wearer's skill and ultimate damage by a flat percentage as well as granting a nice damage bonus for when the user triggers a follow-up attack. The Seriousness of Breakfast is a nice 4-star option for Serval due to the flat damage increase it can give her, as well as the flat attack bonus it can give for Serval for every defeated enemy, which is very easy to stack when you use Serval against multiple enemies for her to defeat. Night on the Milky Way is a fantastic option if you want a flat attack increase on Serval for every enemy that's on the field. It goes up to 5 stacks. And when an enemy is inflicted with Weakness Break, which is very easy for Serval to do thanks to her AOE damage, then the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 30%. Very nice for Serval to get a ton of bonus damage, breaking lightning weak enemies while also inflicting shock on them. The next 4-star option I recommend is Today is Another Peaceful Day, due to the bonus it can give to the wearer's damage based on the max energy cost of their ultimate after entering the battle. So for Serval, it would be a damage increase. Her damage would be increased by 20% per point of energy, and considering that her ultimate cost is 100 and she can quickly charge up her ultimate thanks to certain abilities and Eidolons, then this light cone becomes a very nice option for her. And the last recommendation I have for Serval is Genius's Repose, which increases the wearer's attack by a flat amount, and when the wearer defeats an enemy, which will happen very often, the wearer's crit damage will be increased by a flat amount for 3 turns. Now some of you, well, most of you, are probably wondering, why did I not mention Serval's unique light cone Make the World Clamp? After all, not only does it regenerate 20 to 32 energy for Serval at the start of battle, which synergizes very well with her A4 and E2, but it also increases her ultimate damage by 32 to 64% depending on the amount of superimpositions you have for the weapon. Well, I want to keep this video as short and straight to the point as possible, so without getting too deep into damage calculations and meta talk, it's not so much that the light cone is bad, but the other options I just mentioned are better by comparison if you have them, even at low superimpositions. Still, if you don't have those light cones that I mentioned, then by all means, use her unique light cone, because like with Cocolia, Serval can do better, but she can also do worse. This light cone is still a fine option for her. So, what are some teams that you can use Serval in? Well, I have a couple of recommendations for you, especially if you're a free-to-play player. So this first team is for any free-to-play players, and it relies on a lot of defensive prowess from having 2 preservation characters and an abundance character to ensure the team's survival while the enemy is slowly but surely chipped away by Serval's DLT damage. So I have Fire Trailblazer, March 7th, and Natasha for the heals, and I have Serval for the AOE damage. However, if you want a more offensive variant of this team, I highly recommend switching out one of the preservation characters for a hunt character for more single target damage. On the far side I have Dan Heng, but really, as long as you have the proper accommodations, you can fit any hunt character for that single target damage slot, like Yang Qing and Seele. This third variant involves switching in a Harmony character in order to buff Serval's damage even further. On the far left side I have Jing Yuan, who is a fantastic buffer for Serval because she's able to not only boost her attack stat, but also the flat amount of damage she can deal and accelerate Serval's ultimate charge. Even though I have Jing Yuan here, Asta works as well, and Bronya too. Although, in my personal opinion, I recommend Jing Yuan above those other 2 options. For all of Serval's teams, it's imperative that she has a sizable speed stat so that she's able to move as quickly as possible in the turn order. However, if you're running a team buffer like Jing Yuan, then I highly recommend that they have a higher speed stat than Serval so that they can grant Serval an attack boost before it's Serval's turn to attack. And that's going to be it for this simple guide on how to use Serval. I wanted to keep this guide pretty simple, pretty short, because I didn't want to risk spreading misinformation, since this is actually like my first character guide that I've made like ever. If you guys enjoyed the video and have any recommendations or extra like advice about using Serval, please by all means comment them down below for anyone who's like interested in learning more. And other than that, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.